All right, and we are just getting started here. Welcome everybody to 20-Sided Stories. This is going to be the first stream of the whole deal, so hopefully this goes well. Hopefully I don't mess it up too badly, and we can just go ahead and jump on into the deal. So I'm just going to start with introductions. My name's Nicholas. I'm going to be the DM. Hopefully audio is coming through nicely for everybody. And we'll just start right around the table. We've got Michael calling in, so we'll go ahead and say hi there, Michael.
Hey guys, I'm Michael. I'm playing Darian.
Alrighty, and we'll give everyone a chance to introduce their characters as we go in, and then just go right down the table. I've got my my spirit Appa, who might make an occasional appearance as I move around behind me. But all right, let's hear from everybody else at the table.
My name's Sarah, and I'll be playing Nora.
My name's Megan. I'll be playing Mary Lou.
My name's Kat. I don't know where the camera's at. I don't know where to look. Oh. My name's Kat, and I'll be playing Jennifer.
My name's Brandon. I'll be playing Claudia Gaithu, also known as Claudu.
Alrighty, really rolls off the tongue.
Sure does.
So let me get some music started, and we'll jump right into it. So this stream is going to be Sunday nights, and we're going to be playing The Curse of Strahd, with a little bit of tweaking and, finger marks of my own, hopefully added here and there. Let's get that, make sure the music's at a nice level. Okay. Alright. Oh, that helps if I don't do that. Okay, nice, smooth start. And there we go. Alrighty, I'm just going to do a quick brief introduction and recap into the story. So 5 disparate folk from a faraway land have all received a strange dream drawing them together. This dream was of an elderly woman promising their fortunes with a special fate card, which they all woke to find, a different card for each of the characters. After traveling into the mist-shrouded lands with a troop of people called Vistani, who gave directions to the old lady of their dream, Madame Eva, and the nearby village, the team collected together quickly and embarked on this journey into the mist-shrouded land of Barovia. They found themselves amidst tragedy and concern almost immediately after dealing with a desecrated house and its inhabitants. And upon clearing away the house, we pick up now where the team has received a mysterious bundle with a few letters, one addressed to each of them by name, from a mysterious character welcoming them to Barovia and thanking them for their clearing away of the blight of that house in this land. And it was signed by a mysterious character with the moniker S. Another letter is addressed to Ismark Kolyanovich, and the party used a few light tricks to try and get a good feel for what was maybe in it without opening it and breaking the seal. And they gathered a few disparate elements, but otherwise seemed to have left it mostly unread for the portion of the for the remainder of the letter. So they gathered a few pieces of information. Release Tatiana was the main little snippet that they gained, and so now, after having a few trialing experiences already, are perhaps a little bit on edge at the outskirts, outside of the village of Barovia. They have a little bit farther to go, but can see its outline. Can see some of the outline in the mist here, but everyone is very worn down from their ordeal with the house and must make the decision to rest or move on as it is. I should mention, for story purposes, we covered all of this previously off camera and are streaming at the start here now at level 3. So, team, what all are we doing?
Could you remind me, so there was potions. Did we deal with those potions? Have we handed them out?
I do not believe they've been handed out, just that it was noted that there was one for every player.
Okay.
One for every character.
Let's just one to everyone.
Okay.
Sounds about right.
And we hadn't actually rested,
No.
right?
No.
I think
This is
That was
just
still
after we
good.
got home.
Yep, that's correct. I should mention that the setting you guys are in, sort of the forest of fog around, just like what's behind me on camera there, but is a sort of misty land with a gray, overcast kind of tone. It is daytime, as much as it can be daytime. You all are used to very bright, beautiful, sunlit days in the far-off land of Lemuria where you hail from. But here, doesn't seem like it's the same. So you're not certain what time of day it is precisely, but that it is day. You can see a little bit more than you could before when you approached this house, and now you see it slowly starting to rebuild, ghostly brick by brick, as you saw before after it had collapsed. But the mist has not rolled in as it had before. It is still a little bit drizzly and rainy, dreary atmosphere overall, but enough to still see in the distance the outskirts of the village and the entrance there. Probably maybe less than a quarter mile away. You could definitely see it.
Okay, great. Well, we definitely needed to rest. I think everyone was still pretty beaten up from the last time. I think you guys had healed me, and I was missing a foot.
Oh, that's right.
Yes,
So,
in the ordeal of the house, Darian did in fact, Michael's character did in fact lose his foot as he was withdrawn from a corpse mound monster. So he is in the process of recovery. No blood loss or infection, but certainly a stump and a trial to move as agilely as he could before.
And Jennifer is carrying the amputated foot in her bag.
Well, this seems like, since we're starting stuff, why don't we give a quick introduction to everybody's character so we get a chance of knowing what to think, what to mentally picture when we say each of these names. So, Michael, do you want to give us a quick, brief description of Darian there?
Sure. So Darian is a half-elf. He's a tall elven male, has high cheekbones, slightly pointed ears that are hidden beneath shoulder-length hair that's sort of the color of light wheat. And when he started, he was wearing animal skins and sort of patched together sort of to make one suit of armor. He's since upgraded his armor, and I'll add a little bit more here in a second. But he always sort of walks with balance and with grace and sort of traditional elvish kind of movements. He carries a signet ring on his finger, which we found out from the last couple times has some magical abilities and the ability to summon a dragon familiar spirit from time to time when he really needs to. And we found out, as part of the campaigns the last couple times, that his mother was an elven alchemist. Claudio wasn't quite so sure, but that is part of his backstory as well. And he's pretty cautious and wise, but he's also independent and well-traveled. He served as a guide between two of the regions in this land, and he lived in the mountains sort of between where the elven people lived and the humans lived, and he would sort of transit back and forth. So he's lived on his own. He's a ranger for a lot of his life, and he's joined this party recently.
Okay, and for now, until we upgrade, this is what Darian's model will look like, kind of with this greenish base color. You can see here on camera, just giving everyone a good view at home. So thank you. We got also a little bit of his background and history, but you can also just keep it, if you want to keep stuff close to the chest, you can also just keep it a physical description. So, Sarah, why don't you tell us a little bit about Nora?
Yeah, so Nora is a human, but you'll notice that her skin has a silverish hue to it, and her eyes also shine a golden green. Now, she wears a lot of dark colors and is really attached to her ringmail and her sword and her shield, so those are her best friends. And you'll see kind of...
Although it's chainmail now, she upgraded.
It is chainmail. It was ringmail, but now she upgraded, so she's very excited, obviously. She might flaunt it a little. But she's got lots of grays and blacks in her clothing, little hints of green here and there, and is definitely very attached to her weapons. So that is Nora.
Great, thank you. And we will be using, for the purposes of this, this miniature with a sort of lighter green for Nora in combat situations. So we'll just leave the party here as we add on. All right, Meghan, why don't you tell us a little bit about Mary Lou?
Mary Lou. Mary Lou is a person that looks like she'd be more at home in a fighting pit and a tavern rather than the misty area of Barovia. Human woman, 6 foot tall, super built. Just muscles on muscles on muscles. On her big bulging arm muscles, she has these very colorful tattoos that come to weird raised points. Her head, she has black hair down one side, and the other side is completely shaved. And if you look at her nose, it's probably been broken and reset. And broken and reset time and time again. She's definitely a lady you wouldn't want to get in a fight with.
Alrighty, and Mary Lou, as a work in progress on my painting skills, is going to be represented by this orange-based mini, the Big Axe.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Oh, yes. I forgot her weapons. She has a big great axe, and then at her side she also carries a hand axe, and weirdly just like an ordinary looking hatchet, not necessarily like a fighting weapon.
Alrighty. And Kat, let's hear a little bit about Jennifer.
Yeah, I didn't realize that we had so many humans in the party. But I am also playing a human female. She is pretty tall, probably around 5'11", very pale. Her hair, I'm trying to think of a word to describe it, is like a messy mane, probably down to mid-waist of pale blonde hair. And something that's really striking about her is that she's wearing a half mask over one eye, so the mask is completely occluding that part of her face. She is wearing makeup, though it's probably, after going through that house, is a little bit disheveled. But
Well lived in.
well lived in.
Oof.
Pretty thin, in contrast to Mary Lou. Definitely not muscly. At this point, she's wearing traveling clothes that are plain, but they're very well made. So that's Jennifer.
Alrighty, and Jennifer, for now, will be represented by this sort of lavender-based individual here, joining the party. Alrighty, and Brandon, last but certainly not least, thank you, Appa, is, I'm working on a green screen, but this is a work in progress. Brandon, why don't you tell us a little bit about Claude?
Sure. Full name, Clarity Gaithu Flynn. He just goes by Claude. He's a pretty typical mountain dwarf from the darker regions of Lemuria. So he's about 5 feet tall, pretty tall for a dwarf. Very pale skin, pitch black hair. His eyes would be silver, I think. And what really would stand out about him is he's got a robe on, as well as a scythe on his back, both of which are split straight down the center, one half black, one half white. And he would have a little icon of a set of scales on his cloak.
Yeah. Alrighty, and until we get a scythe-wielding dwarf mini, we have a scythe-wielding mini with, as described, black and white base. So that is the party. Again, we've got Claude, Nora, Mary Lou, Jennifer, and Darian. So, as this motley group stays here outside the slowly rebuilding remnants of this house in the outskirts of the village, they're well worn from their ordeal of escaping narrowly the collapsing house through a series of trials. What is everyone doing? It sounds like a rest was being discussed. Is that how we're moving forward?
Well, looking back at the house, Jennifer was like, well, that was an exercise in futility. Is it just going to rebuild itself? What do we... Well, is the scenario just going to play over again?
Though. It wasn't completely useless. We ended up with the knife, right?
You lost a foot! That seems like a huge
It's a
expenditure.
magic knife!
We still have the foot, it's just not attached to him.
Well, I would like to make it to the city as fast as possible.
Right.
I mean,
How far away was the city, just as a reminder?
Yeah. It's within visual distance, even in this fog and the rain. On a clear day, you could probably see for about a mile, maybe a little more, depending on elevation. Here, on a day like this, it's at the very verge of your distance vision, but is within it. I would say maybe closer to quarter mile or so.
well, we could. I mean, I don't know about sleeping outside around here, especially near. And she'll point back at the house. That thing. We could, like, just take a breather, get back some of our energy, and move towards the city.
Sounds good.
That sounds good to me. I want to clean my sword.
Yeah, I think we should get him to a doctor maybe as soon as possible to deal with this foot situation. If we want to keep it, I can't guarantee that keeping it cold will help keep it okay for much longer.
I mean, he's not bleeding out. We could probably spare an hour and.
Fair enough.
What do you think, Darian?
Are you
feeling?
okay?
I think we had some really good attempts to try and keep me happy and healthy. So I'm feeling great. I'm feeling fully rested, and you were
Well, as great as you can feel.
I'll keep
Yeah,
on
as good
feeding
as I
you
can
some
feel.
wine.
Yeah, I'm feeling great. You're just pumping me full of wine and healing me, and this is the best I've ever felt.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about that.
I mean, that
Morale is
could.
high, but we should probably head to town as soon as possible.
Lost a foot. Morale is high. Welcome to Darien.
I mean, that could also be the blood loss talking.
True.
Alrighty. So, short rest? Is that what it sounds like? Hour rest?
I'm in favor of going straight there.
Going straight to it.
I don't know what everyone else is feeling. I know it's better to maybe take a short rest, but if we're only, you said like a quarter mile out,
Mm-hmm.
that's not that long. We can walk there pretty fast.
Yeah. All right. So, kind of turning away from this little hamlet, the wealthy remnants of the wealthy manor, kind of at your back now. All of you guys set your sights on the village that you were told of by Stanimir, the leader of the group who led you here, as a landmark towards the waterline where Madame Eva is rumored to reside. Maybe striding not quite as boldly as before, perhaps with Darien kind of leaning heavily an arm on somebody,
Here, come on. Come
or
here,
if
Darian.
you have another solution. That sounds like Mary Lou is lending her quite reliable muscle.
Thank you, Mary Lou.
The team continues on and slowly approaches the village itself, and these tall shapes are starting to loom out of the dense fog, and it seems to give way a little bit more to a more muddy ground that enhances to the occasional poorly cared for cobblestone. The tall shapes become recognizable as village dwellings, and the windows of each house sort of stare out from pools of blackness. You don't see lights in very many of these houses. The occasional, maybe shuttered candle quickly extinguished, and no sound cuts through the silence except for a very notable noise, a mournful sob that echoes through the streets from a distance. This is a sound of brokenness that pinpoints some of the experiences you've already had in Barovia. Before going too far, you already notice just as a passive note with your perception, you already notice something rather unusual, or maybe not so unusual, a large raven perching atop the nearest building on the outskirts. As you guys are approaching, there's no walls to this village. It doesn't seem to be a fortified structure, and even from outside, you can tell it's a little bit worn, it's a little bit beaten down, like you guys are at this moment.
Yeah.
Atop the nearest building, the sort of shingled roof with little patches in it here and there seems to be a large raven. What's notable most about this raven is even in the dimmer light, the wingtips are dyed blue, or at least have a bright blue color to them, a lovely sort of deep royal blue. And the raven looks at you and gives a "ah!" and quickly flutters off towards another building, not too far in the distance. You can't quite see, but it looks a little bit more well cared for than some of its surrounding ones. And another "ah!" as it circles 3 times and perches atop the building. This seems to be sort of along the main path of the village as you are entering. It's something easily within visual distance as you've approached the very outskirts of the village. All the while, sorry to interrupt you, but all the while, you're still hearing that same coming down from the far end, echoing down the empty streets of the village.
Is there any signage we're seeing?
At this stage, you guys are just on the outskirts of the village, so you notice the fluttering movement and the caw of the raven, but you did not quite. You're not quite in the village proper just yet. You're sort of on the threshold. But what is strange is, those of you who are well-traveled folk might expect guards or some kind of individual to be alert or to question or to welcome in a warmer setting, but none of this is the case. There is no sentry, there is no town crier, but there is crying in the town. Puns.
Yeah, welcome to the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20-sided stories. We're here at the pun table.
Yep.
Darian, question. You seem to be... I don't know much about animals, but does that bird look weird to you?
It does. I have a feeling our mysterious benefactor may have sent somebody to guide our travels a little. But I've never seen a non-trained raven act the way that one did. That one certainly received some sort of training or magical influence.
Or so you guess.
Or so I guess.
Do you want to go ahead and make a nature check?
Sure. Okay, maybe I go 3.
It looks like a raven. The blue stands out, but otherwise, ravens.
Sure is a raven, all right. You're the expert, I guess. Do we want to check out the crime? I'm not that good with crime people.
that's just the sounds of the city.
But it's like one person, though. Like, if everyone was crying, I think we could ignore it, but it's just...
The whole city was crying.
And Jennifer, I should mention, from your city background, maybe, or some of your personal experiences, or any cities you might have been in, regardless of background, this, to all of you, is a sharp contrast to settlements that you've experienced.
Okay.
There's no hustle and bustle. There's no general discussion, no people coming to and fro.
Okay.
And this is perhaps midday,
Yeah.
and there's no one around.
Okay.
And that at least in your visual mark. So the town streets seem to span around, and some continue past where you can just initially see. It looks like it stretches for a good distance. So there's certainly more to explore and maybe see a greater sign of life. But thus far, nothing. The occasional flickering lights in different windows here or there, but most are those pools of darkness. You do see what looks like some lights or some light streaming through. Looks like maybe candle or firelight streaming through the windows of the building that the Raven has landed on. And a few others here and there. And that is where you are currently picking up on. But it's disturbing. You're used to seeing things that are far more lively than this.
When people need help, usually they ask for it. So maybe let's just, that person's got their own situation going on. Maybe let's take care of ourselves and our newly amputee.
I agree that people will sometimes ask for help, but I'd also make the argument this person doesn't know that we're here.
I think we probably need a good, solid rest before we go adventuring and exploring new things. Getting indoors as quickly as possible sounds like the right idea.
Yeah, and all of you are being rained on at the moment.
Yeah.
And I should mention, I missed a crucial sixth member of the party. There was a stray that was picked up within the house, little Lancelot, the spaniel, who joined the party amidst the house, a very emaciated dog that was found at the time, with a collar that says belongs to Gertruda, which I believe was mentioned in the initial discussion. No model for poor little Lancelot, not a combat-ready dog. However, still especially faithful to Darian, who fed little Lancelot, and is sort of, droop-tailed, droop-eared, kind of looks toward where you might think some of the crying is coming, and kind of cocks an ear, and sort of...
Give him a little pat on the head.
He does that little, like, one tail swash of, like, thanks for the comfort.
I say we make our way to that building and point at the one that the Raven landed on. That looks the most hospitable.
So we're following the spooky raven.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not the first spooky thing we've
It's
seen,
a
I guess.
raven. It's just a raven. It's just
I
a
mean,
bird.
it looks pretty cool, but I don't think it's normal.
I mean, we were greeted to this village by a skeletal horse and a rider. I don't think we're going non-spooky anytime soon.
Alrighty. So heading farther in, then.
Yep.
Let's do it.
You wanted to keep a lookout for signs. Go ahead and make a perception check, Clady.
That's a natural something.
Uh-huh.
Not a 20.
Wow.
Not a 20.
First two
Okay.
rolls.
Well, the fog, the fog and the rain certainly are thick, and you've been through an ordeal. Being in this land is an ordeal compared to where you are from. And so this is a challenging time. And so you're a little more single-mindedly determined to just find a little space sheltering from the rain. Anyone else want to have a stab at looking around, or are we?
I want to be on the lookout for. You said that there's some people that are snuffing out candles in windows.
You noticed that there was. You didn't see any people, but you did notice that there were a couple lights lit in a window or two that extinguished,
Okay.
sort of as you were rolling up.
I want to be on the lookout for things like that or any signs of other people in the area.
Okay, go ahead and make a perception check, please.
11.
11. Well, you don't see any people, although you kind of echoing down amidst the crying. You also hear sort of a very faintly, but it sounds like some kind of cart or something, but it's out of sight. You're not seeing it. You're just hearing it. But as you're heading, the team, the party as a whole is heading towards this candlelit and raven perched facility. You are noticing a few different signs. One is a sort of iron hanging sign swinging a little. And it reads Bildrath's Mercantile. And this has the creaking sign on its hinges. I'm going to look at my thing here. And it's got this sort of drawn heavy curtains around its windows. It's got like many of these spaces do, where the light is just sort of creeping out from the edges there. So lit, but you've seen more welcoming places.
Okay.
Not far from there, you're able to sort of come to this cornered intersection, and immediately to sort of your right of the mercantile space, which is on your left. To the right, on the other side of the street, is where the Ravens has perched. And now you can read the sign, which has sort of a single shaft of light that is sort of heading into this, piercing through this fog. And again, here there's a sort of precariously askew sign claiming this to be the Blood on the Vine Tavern. But the N has been scratched out and replaced with an F. So it reads Blood on the Vife. From here, you cannot hear any sounds of life from behind or anything like that behind the door, which is closed. Hardly the rip-roaring experiences that those of you with tavern backgrounds might have had.
Maybe it's a more homely place. Low-key.
I don't think I've ever seen a low-key tavern that I like. I'm more for the raucous fighting pit type tavern.
Raucous.
Well, our last experience in a tavern with you nearly got us thrown out.
Just
So
saying.
maybe a calm tavern would be in mind for this one.
Yeah, throwback to as the party met in a different tavern. But as you guys are sort of discussing here at the threshold, you can see down a few other alleyways. And down one alleyway, sort of towards a little bit farther diagonally in front of your current location. You can kind of see what looks like a cart being pushed, like a hand cart of some kind, and sort of a hunched figure. And that's probably the noise of the churning wheels that you were hearing before, Jennifer. And, a few houses down, and the fog has kind of rolled in a little bit more, so it's a little harder to see this individual in more clarity, but you do hear sort of like a... as she's knocking at the door of somebody's home.
Okay.
And seems like it's sort of like a pregnant pause, and then sort of another... and no answer. And the figure sort of hunches a little bit, and then returns and pushes the cart farther to the next door down, and again begins knocking there as well.
See, look, a salesperson. It's a very normal place.
Do we see anything in the cart?
Go ahead and make a perception check.
Better than a nat 1, please.
And while he's doing that, did you say that where we're at right now is like a 4 intersection? Or?
Yeah, kind of like a 4-way intersection. You can see further in. You've kind of come to a bigger section, midpoint maybe in the town. You can kind of see down one alley. There seems to be a larger building. Kind of, this is past the figure with the cart, but down the way that this figure is at. Forward on it splits a little bit farther more, with buildings kind of all around you, and then where you're standing, there's that intersection. To your left, the Bildrat's Mercantile, and to your right, the Blood on the Vive Tower.
And those buildings are on the corner of the intersection?
Correct.
Okay.
You do have a little bit of a sense of like you're in the middle of this whole deal, and that's you're in the middle of this whole. What's interesting is that you've kind of the fog has played a little bit of a trick on you, maybe, and your perceptions. It feels like you haven't traveled that far, but you feel like now seeing this clearer space. Or this thing, it feels like you've come a little bit farther away. You see a little bit more, a few more buildings than you maybe would have noticed on your way in.
Thought we were.
Yeah.
Okay.
19.
19.
Nice.
And it definitely feels like a town more than a city, or village, perhaps. With a 19, in the cart, you definitely see and smell what seems like some kind of small food of some kind. It's certainly dispersing steams, hot. Some kind of maybe pie or something like that, but they're small. For those of you who know what a British mincemeat pie is, that's sort of around what you're looking at. Little sectioned pies. They're not big American pies. So that's what it looks like. At least what you can see here. It seems like they're stacked up several high, and then there's also a satchel, of a big sack in the back part of the cart that she's pushing. And it looks like it's got a little bit of a tarp overhang to protect the wares from the rain.
Interesting.
We want to hit the tavern. See if they have some rooms to stay in, maybe.
Yeah. Do you guys want to maybe? Do you share that?
Oh, I just had a house collapse on me.
Maybe if you guys want to get a room, we can go and get some of these meat pies. I know.
I mean, she's
Cat
the
knows
first
they're
person
human
I
pies.
That's your
Suspicious.
suspicion raised.
Right, there's no way they're made of human meat, right? But Jennifer wouldn't know that.
Is it cannibalism if you're not human?
This is normally the point where I'd say there's one way to find out, but please don't. Actually, I think that's probably the better bet. Your deity might have something to say about that.
He might.
Yeah.
We'll go in together and get a room, and then maybe afterwards we can get a
tavern.
Okay. So you're not far. I mean, you're basically at the threshold of the tavern, and pushing. So it's a little stuck. The door. Pushing in. There's no music in the tavern, which is maybe the first thing that you guys notice. Wood furnishings spread around, tables and a bar. There's a barman there, and a rather bright and warm firelight, hearth fire there. But it's more warm seeming than actually warm. Very bright, heavily fed fire, but a cold space overall. And it seems to be a once fine inn that's kind of gone to seed a little bit over time. It's grown maybe a little bit here and there, scuff marks on the furniture, wear and tear on all of that. And only 4 souls occupy the space. The first is what you draw your eyes to, a sort of pudgy barkeep cleaning the glasses with an almost metronomic pace. Just dirtied cloth that might never have been cleaned, cleaning his glasses, setting them aside. There's a group of 3 colorfully dressed women sitting at a corner table together on the far side of the bar from your entrance, close to the fire. And now that you see him, what appears to be a handsome younger man with gray hair, despite his age, looking somewhat sad as he drinks his wine, but his body language is rather welcoming, and you kind of get the sense he's trying to catch your eye a little bit, and sort of raises his glass to you as you enter in sort of a silent welcome.
I'll give a head nod and acknowledge.
Mm-hmm. Is it a down nod, an up nod? Because it matters.
An up nod.
Ooh.
So.
Mary Lou will ignore this and go straight up to the barkeep and say, "Hey, what do you recommend?"
Wine. Only got one type. Purple grape mash, number 3. And this individual looks beyond tired, sunken. Lines of his face all over, his mouth is sort of perpetually downturned in a frown. And he's got sort of gray, almost colorless eyes. And his voice is very mumbly, very colorless, as the rest of him is.
5 glasses of that, I guess.
Do you have any rooms available for tonight?
Rooms?
Yeah. Rooms. Where you sleep? And rest?
Rest.
Outside of the rain?
5 wines, 25 copper.
What's with this guy?
I don't know.
Rooms, 2 silver a night per folk. Can't speak to quality.
Do you own this place?
Yes and no.
Okay. You
drinking too?
Yeah, I'll have one.
Yeah.
And as you're
$5 for you.
as you're like beginning to pull out the coins, the individual at the table, the handsome younger man with the gray hair, he kind of stands up, his chair sliding across the floor. He says, "Please allow me. Name's Ismark. Can I get your drinks?"
I'll give a elbow to Mary Lou. That'd be great. Thank you, Ismark.
My pleasure. Strangers, we say, are friends not yet discovered. I hope you are this. And he slaps down 3 silver to the barman. Keep the change, Eric. I know you could use. And Eric sweeps the coins off the bar, but completely unregistering to the generosity and sort of more energetic. I mean, the contrast is so severe between the two. The body language. This Ismark individual kind of strode up and slapped the coins down, and he's kind of turned to you and he's looking at you, and says, "Please join me at my table. I have a proposal."
That seems sudden. We literally just met you, but sure.
Oh, no, not marriage, not marriage. That is not how things are done here in Barovia. But a deal, perhaps. Something of value and worth. We do not see folk of your kind, and I am, frankly, in need of some help. Perhaps we can discuss initial terms.
We do have something that's pressing that we need to take care of. You can see our friend here, and I'll make a gesture towards Darian. He's a little bit injured. Do you have a doctor that you can recommend to us to get him seen to?
There is no doctor here in the village, I am sorry to say. If he were better off, I might recommend the village priest. but Donovich has seen better days, I'm afraid. Please come. Your friend may sit, and I will pull up another chair for at least him to rest his woeful limb upon.
Sorry, Michael.
Thanks, appreciate that. We tried. So as Mary Lou is sort of letting go of him and grabbing the wine, he's sort of getting tired and sort of, even though he's healed and everything, battle shock's taking over him, and he sort of collapses into the chair and he closes his eyes and sort of says, I'm just gonna rest for a little bit, and he sort of falls asleep rather quickly.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, it seems he has deserved a little nap. I'm sure he trusts you quite implicitly to sleep so publicly in this situation. I am Ismark Kolyanovich, and how are you called, each of you? Please, drink. We are all comrades in drink, if not in name yet.
Who's going to introduce themselves first?
Well, do not all speak up at once.
Mary Lou, who has already finished her wine, just Mary Lou.
Well, it is a pleasure, Mary of Lou.
Just Mary Lou. That's just one name. Just got a hyphen.
I see. A hyphen.
Jennifer, and she'll extend a hand.
Oh, my pleasure, lady. And you get the sense he knows a little bit of the proprieties to be observed here, and kisses the back of your hand. It is an honor. And he like rose from his chair a little bit and seats himself back. And his body language, despite his sort of sad expression initially, his body language is rather open. He's sitting more openly. He's kind of looking to one side a little bit.
What is he wearing? Like, what does his clothes look like?
Pretty muted colors, but of fine make.
Okay.
Well, fine is a relative term, but it's not tattered. It seems like there may be a couple days lived in, but they seem to be of nicer quality than maybe common folk.
Okay. While he's kissing my hand, I'm going to... Can I look at his, like, general... like his cleanliness, his close-shavenness, like see if it makes sense that this person has the financial means to provide for our drinks. I'm trying to get an idea of like where his social standing is, like where is he rich? Is he has he been taking care of himself?
Make either an intelligence or a perception check, whichever you'd prefer.
Ooh, I don't actually know which one's better for me.
It's kind of cocked, but you're gonna move it. It's gonna be.
Yeah. I mean, that's honest. Let's see. You said perception or what again? Sorry.
Or just straight intelligence.
Oh, yikes. Okay.
Or, yeah, that's probably
That's
good.
11.
11. He's clean shaven.
Okay.
Well, 5 o'clock shadow shaven. The rest of him seems well put together. He's got a sword belted at his hip.
Okay.
And it seems of reasonable quality. It's obviously in a scabbard. And he's got occasionally his hand rests on it as his eyes sort of look to the side. But as far as you know, he's honest in his at least he had the money.
Okay.
And he's sort of saying, "A pleasure, lady." And each of you, names or monikers if you prefer, hyphens even.
I'll do.
Yes, it is nice to meet you, Claddu. I have not met a man of your stature before, but it is a pleasure. Stout and strong, I hope.
Aye.
Oh.
A dwarf.
Oh, we don't get many dwarf, did you say?
The dwarves, in plural.
Dwarves. We do not get many dwarves here in Barovia, but I believe maybe one or two have passed this way some time ago. In either case, a pleasure.
Pleasure.
Though I am curious to your chain there. Symbolism?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where that accent was going. 300, 200.
Count backwards from 300.
I Hi, it's a symbol of Kelemvor, the deity I serve.
Ah, well, I hope that this deity has served you well as you serve him.
Aye.
The days here are a little harder, a little less bright. Some say that the Night Mother and Morning Dawn Father do not smile on us any longer. But perhaps this Kelemvor will serve better.
So I was gonna ask, there's something wrong with your sky, right? Like, the light goes away, and then comes back, which is great, but it goes away? Which is not supposed to happen?
We call this this day and night. I'm not sure what you mean. Where are you from? From what land and province do you hail?
Well, I don't know where you're from. Don't look at me.
Or about do we tell him?
But, I think we're all confused about what he said, though, right? About the day and night cycle?
Yeah, so Lumoria, where you guys are originally from, does not have a standard day-night cycle, and is more in a perpetual, wherever you're geographically located, has more of a perpetual weather pattern, or sunlight pattern. So this is a little bit unusual, and he kind of is looking at you, and he's kind of growing a little warier at this. Foreign travelers, is this, not many come to Barovia as from such faraway lands, but with noble ladies such as these, and you, my dear, what might I call you?
She wasn't super paying attention most of the time, but she'll look straight in his eyes, with a glare, and be like, Nora.
Well, Lady Nora, it is a pleasure to meet a lady of your bearing. And well armed and armored, I see. That is good. Times are of trouble lately, but perhaps I can be of some assistance. If you are newcomers to Barovia, perhaps I can provide you with some additional assistance in wherever you are trying to get. But, as I said, I have a bit of a proposal. As soon as you're finished with your drinks, we can perhaps travel to somewhere a little less public, a little quieter from prying ears and eyes.
So like a room in the back kind of a thing?
Oh, I wouldn't recommend the rooms here, but you are welcome to stay with me. I should mention, I am... And here he kind of sinks a little bit. I am... Well... Technically, I am the burgomaster now of this village.
The what?
The burgomaster, perhaps.
Burgomaster?
Perhaps mayor, if you are unfamiliar. Leader of this sad collection of shanties born down in town. My father, Kolyan Indirovich, passed not long ago, I'm afraid. In any case, I am... That is by the by. We have a rather more... He says this rather quietly. We have a more comfortable and private place that we could perhaps talk.
Did we notice his eyes moving when he was looking to the side?
Yeah, is he telling the truth?
Go ahead and make an insight check.
Insight. That'll be 19.
As far as you can tell, he seems to be pretty genuine. You can tell a couple things elsewise, though. There's a tension in his shoulders that has been present the whole time, and he's a little... This whole interaction seems a little rushed. And you don't know how the customs go here, but it just, especially with the interaction of the barkeep, this seems a little like he's impatient and agitated. His eyes keep darting to the three colorful dressed women in the corner.
I mean, there aren't that many people here if we just wanted to talk in here. I don't know why you're being so squirrely.
Oh, certainly, I understand. Trust must be earned, yes. Well, I have given you my name and my title, and I would be honored to have you join for a proper meal and a good bed. or at least some comfort. But in honesty, I am ashamed to say that I would like to prevail upon you in a time of need. You see, I need a favor, perhaps an outside perspective, and skilled individuals such as yourselves in what seems to be a mix of arms. Not unlike myself, though I am but one, and you are many. Together we might be able to accomplish. And perhaps as a gesture of goodwill, I can provide this. And within his tunic, he kind of produces a rolled scroll tube and uncaps it and kind of lays it out, and it appears to be a map of Barovia.
Oh.
He says, well, if you are new here, perhaps a measure of trust. This is a map of the land here that I might provide you with, and be of some assistance in this matter that I have in request for you as well. So here, for those of you who are in person, I'm also going to send a quick outline to the chat, so that in the just writing a little note. All right, so we'll go ahead and you guys can go ahead and briefly pass that around. I'm also going to send a more colorful and complete version to the chat in email and WhatsApp. Let's do that really fast.
Whenever I take pictures on my iPad, I feel like an old person. You only see old people do that. There you go.
Are you covering the camera with your thumb too? Then you're really, really doing the whole,
You gotta have the concentration
situation there. So I'm going to turn this a little bit, by the way, so that way you guys can see. So here's the map for those folks. So for those of you able to see, as I'm sure all the players viewed, we're doing this old-fashioned style. So we've got a nice village of Barovia here. The team came in from this old Svalich road. Appears to be the name of the road the team was traveling in, with the gate marked that they passed with the headless statues. There is the Svalich woods and all these other spaces marked here and there. There's a few places like the Sayre pool that is being marked that catches your eye, perhaps. But also some other spaces here and there. There's a couple other spaces that also draw the eye, like the space of Valaki and the space of Kretsk, which look to be other settlements marked in a similar way.
Could you point those out?
Yeah, I can. So Valaki is here, and Kretsk is here, and Barovia is here. Okay. The village, at least.
Gotcha.
And each of those little tiles is half a mile. So a bit of a large space here, but for those of you looking for a bigger picture, here's that with all the details. So, moving straight along from a few technical concerns. Thank you for bearing with us there at home. Yeah, no druid to make the bear puns this time around, so I can actually say that without having to be looking up at the team and groan every time. But moving right back along, you guys were right where we picked up. You guys were talking with and experiencing a little bit of concern, but maybe getting there with this individual, Ismark Kolyanovich, who seems to be rather both welcoming and a little hurried, a little anxious, as Claddu has picked up. Although the remainder of the team has not really picked up too much, clocked on to too much of his additional behaviors. He seems to be eyeing questioningly the three colorfully dressed individuals, the ladies there in the corner, and seems to be urging the team to maybe make their way to his home, or at least outside, to discuss things. And he just gave the team a map to earn their trust a little bit. And he says, for my proposal, I can pay in gold and gratitude. However, I think it is best discussed the details elsewhere. However, there is a certain two-sided to this present or gift of trust, hopefully to earn a little credit with each of you, but also to maybe describe some of the nature of the business, if you catch my meaning.
I don't.
travel and a conversation first, I think.
Okay.
Have we looked at the 3 colorful women yet?
That's what I was gonna say, yeah.
Not other than just in passing, but go ahead. Why don't we have someone else? I know you've made a lot of rolls. Why don't I have one of you guys make a perception check? Darian's asleep. His ring appears to be like glowing a little bluey.
Jennifer's gonna come over to Nora and she's gonna hold up the map and be like, do you recognize any of these areas?
Nope.
It's an interesting map. I've never heard of these places.
Yeah, they all seem rather foreign to all of you.
During this conversation, Mary Lou is just gonna sort of casually have a hand on her hatchet, like not pulling it out, but like having her hand in a place where she could pull it out very easily.
All right. Sounds
So
good.
If no one else is gonna look,
Sure, go ahead and make your perception check
I
right
thought you were
there.
going to.
no,
Sorry.
he's like, no, let someone else do it. And no one else did.
No, make the smart call. That's my bad as a
Yes.
DM, so go ahead and roll.
That's a 25.
25. Holy cow. Okay. You can see that these individuals match a more physicality and colorful description. Their bearing, their demeanor, while a little more huddled and talking quietly amongst themselves. You can't quite make out the words, but what you can tell is these individuals remind you of someone you've come across frequently, or recently, which was Stanimir and his troop of traveling Vistani. The way that they convey themselves, like me, as the DM, they tend to use more broad, open gestures with their hands, their body. They seem more animated as they talk. And they are giving you guys some glances, but they are keeping it rather casual. They all have glasses of wine rather than sort of the more... theirs look a little nicer. The wine in their cups a little darker. But they're colorfully dressed and well dressed, I would say. The sort of... I don't know the quite terminology other than like a troubadour kind of look with those colors of sort of streamers of cloth from elbow to wrist, sort of shawls and dresses, maneuverable, and from that roll, you can tell that at least one of them is concealing a weapon underneath. By the outline, you'd guess some kind of long dagger or short blade, short sword, somewhere in that range. But and these are individuals that you would maybe not be out of place in a more of a circus or some more traveling troupe like you saw, but they seem to be, their bearing is in control and contained within their little unit of 3. They are all sort of varying, dark-haired, not a lot of physical resemblance. You wouldn't, you'd guess, probably not sisters at least, or direct family members, but all roughly around the same age, maybe in their mid-30s.
Well, Ismark, I know that you were probably eager to discuss this proposal, but as you can see, and I'll gesture at Darian, we're quite tired. Is there any chance we can call on you instead once we've had a chance to rest? And enjoy in the evening.
I appreciate your respect for propriety, and I would like nothing more than to approach this in a more tactful and civilized manner, but time is not my ally, nor is it the ally of the one whom I seek to protect. If you might, please. And he kind of stands and gives that sort of hand out the door gesture. Thank you, Appa. Appearing behind as part of my overlay. Appa in the forest. But he stands and sort of gives that gesture as sort of like a after you, please. I can make it worth your while.
Very well.
Okay.
Should probably go wake up Darian.
Can I try and pick him up like Princess Carrie kind of stuff?
Darian.
Sure, make a strength check.
Roll well, come on. Not well.
How'd you do?
That is going to be a 7.
A 7, okay. So you kind of lift under, as it's pretty easy as he's sort of sprawled out, get an arm around, and you kind of lift, and you kind of just tilt him onto the floor. And so it's sort of like a, as he flops to the floor rather bonelessly, in his sleep. sleep in state, and as you catch yourself very briefly before your head cracks against the floor there, Darian, and Ismark kind of gives you a look with an eyebrow cocked and says,
Oh, hey, Darian, you fell out of your chair there.
You dwarves have some strange waking customs.
We're very tired. It's been a long...
Well, please allow me. I can at least provide maybe a comfortable setting. Come.
As you're trying to pick up Darian, you notice that he's heavier than he was before.
Despite
He
losing
now
a foot.
weighs more, and you think you caught a glint of something on his hand, and you notice his chest is a little bit larger than it was before.
Oh.
He sort of wakes
He's
up and he gets up
approximately
and he
1
goes,
foot lighter.
"What are you doing to me, gnome?"
What? You just fell out of your chair. I was just trying to help.
Yeah.
No need to call me names.
The skin felt a little rougher under his clothes, by the way.
Weird.
Mary Lou will attempt to pick Darian up, but she's gonna go for sack of potato carry, not nice
He's
princess.
like, I've got it, I've rested. Thank you. A shoulder will do.
Do you still try and pick him up all the way?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and make a strength test. Darian, you can contest with dexterity or strength, your choice.
Contesting, thank you.
That is 19.
Oh, I got a 2.
It's sort of a protesting, like, you know, like one of your arms is asleep, and so you're just sort of like, and quickly hoisted into the sort of sack of potatoes kind of position. He is heavier, and you're slowly moving, even for a lady such of your physical capability. And Ismark is like, impressive. Shall we? You know how to make an exit. I will give you that. Please allow me. And he kind of opens the door.
Down
Clearly,
the drink.
sort of, you know, eager to exit. As you guys exit, the rain still coming down into the night. The temperature not much different than what it was, even amidst the hearth fire in the inside of the inn. The lady with the cart is gone, but not far in the distance, you do hear a sort of like she's knocking on a different door. Ismark now says, "Please, this way. Allow me to guide you here. We've got not too far to get to. Well, the burgomaster, as mentioned, he kind of gestures down the other direction of the four-way, opposite to the larger building where the lady, opposite the lane that the lady was, or the individual was carrying, pushing the cart. Opposite that way, there seems to be a large manor, roughly akin to the house that you guys lived in, or not lived in, but visited thoroughly.
Spend some time. Yeah.
And he's, he's sort of saying, "This way, allow me. I am sorry for my lack of forthrightedness. The devil's eyes and ears are everywhere. It is best to be careful. But for now, please."
Mary Lou. Oh, sorry. Mary Lou just sort of raises a hand. Who's the devil?
I dare not speak his name, but one of grave presence and danger to those who the one who I care for. Please, this way.
And she'll sort of turn to Derek. Did you switch out armor in the mansion or something?
He's like, now that you mention it, my arm is not fitting all that well. Can you let me down a second?
Make a persuasion.
I mean, you were literally so tired you were sleeping on the table. I'm gonna continue to carry Darian.
Is the blue-tipped
Don't get
raven
any
still?
respect here, none whatsoever.
You don't. You do see that the blue-winged raven does appear to have been has flown off.
Okay.
Perhaps sometime while you guys were inside discussing.
Is it the whole wings are blue or just the tips of them?
Most probably the bottom half towards the wingtips.
Okay.
From the glance you caught.
Hey, Ismark.
Yes, Nora was addressed.
Yeah. Do you happen to have any big birds?
Big birds. I do not. So we do not keep pets. I'm afraid.
Or a
But I do see
raven?
you have a lovely companion here. I once saw a dog not too And he kind of... Lancelot? This is Gertruda's dog. You can probably hear her mom. That's her crying. But perhaps... And again, you still hear the sort of wailing sobs, just like...
So, as
Kind of
mayor, do you feel the need to...
I have only recently inherited that title, but you remind me of the one I seek to introduce you to. So please allow me, and we can. I'm doing my best here.
What?
And he's like, as this discussion is going on, he seems sunken and worn so much more with every passing moment.
Okay.
And every passing word, as he's like revealing little tidbits, some of that sort of more open attitude has
Gone away. Okay.
Mary Lou not really get what happened to Gertruda?
She has gone missing, but many things. Perhaps you can pay a visit to poor Mad Mary, as we call her. But again, I would prefer to have our conversation behind closed doors. As I said, you never know what kind of eyes and ears may be found, and traveling colors are not to be trusted. And he kind of continues on the lane towards this manor, and you sort of see this sort of weary-looking mansion that's sort of squatting behind a rusted iron fence. The gates are sort of twisted and torn. Immediately you see this is something wrong. Unlike the sort of false face of the house you guys visited, this is a house that presents its circumstances openly, and they are not good circumstances. Weeds are choking the ground, and the gate sort of squeals and with this sort of continual metronomic precision. Against the walls, you see the growth has been sort of tamped down to create a path amidst all the weeds and stuff which are growing up like a shin forest there, but it's sort of tamped down to a path there to the entrance of the domain, and all around really there's like footprints and now that you're seeing it, claw markings that have stripped some of the beautiful finish off the walls. You see, big furrows and small things, black marks, what looks like scorch marks maybe. You're not entirely sure, and there's not like all the windows are open, not open as in hatched open, but they're missing their panes. No glass. Occasionally a few shards here and there, but they're barred, it looks like, with wooden planks hastily erected, and all of them show additional signs of wear. Home sweet home. It has been better days. Please come. I will introduce you to my sister. And he knocks, and you hear sort of a from behind the door. Who is it? Irina, it's me. Let me in. I have friends. And she kind of, like a little peep window that slides behind, almost like a spy door section, or to like a clubhouse, slides open. You see a pair of rather lovely, sort of greenish gold eyes. Ismark? And who are all of these? Are they... They're with me. They seem good. They seem good. He kind of is quickly approaching. Please, they're here to help. Let us in. And you hear something like metal moving, like a scraping sound, and then you hear like this is some kind of panic room. Like there's locks just continuously being unlocked here, and she sort of opens the door, and behind. Standing in the threshold, you see a rather striking woman. High cheekbones, kind of a darker color to her. Her skin in a more, just enough to lend an exotic tinge. Beautiful, like hip-length, flowing brown hair, and built with the air of someone who has some athleticism to her. But she seems to sort of do this sort of motion, like a nervous collar adjustment, raising it a little bit. And she says, "Brother, who are all these? guests at this time. Are you sure this is not the moment? And Ismark at this point is saying, Irina, let us in. Please, we shouldn't have our argument out here. They have promised to help, and I have promised to pay. Go on, let us in. And she says, and you can see she's got like a blade like half drawn from a sheath. It looks like a thin sword, maybe rapier, sort of an ornate handle. She's wearing armor already, so clearly someone who looks haggard. And she looks physically in her 20s and healthy, drained, pallid maybe, but emotionally she looks older, worn down and broken a little. And she says, fine, come in, but we must do something about father. And she kind of shuts the door, and you see there's like several locks and chains that she's putting over this kind of back up behind her. And standing within, it's a well-furnished space, yet the features show, furniture shows signs of great wear. There's sort of a couple, aside from the obvious oddity of the boarded up windows, there appears to be holy symbols of like a sun, or a more stylized symbol of the sun posted in many locations on cloth that's been painted or woven, carvings, castings all over the place. It looks like they're just spattered it, and it looks like most of them are on the other side of the boards that board up the windows. You can see that there is a rather strange, sickly, sweet smell, like burning incense or herbs that are trying to cover up another smell underneath, which is the smell of rot. There is what looks like a very makeshift wooden coffin that stands in sort of the main entrance of the hall, and in it lies an older man, maybe in his 50s or so, who is clearly dead. Arms crossed like this, eyes respectfully closed. Who are all of you? Brother says you are a friend. I am Irina, and I know how to use this. And she kind of pulls her sword. She's a little nervous, a little bravado-y, but also clearly on edge with each of you. And Ismark says, Irina... And she sort of rounds on him very quickly. Don't you Irina me? Who are they? Who are you? Don't all speak at once!
Just a group of travelers passing through your lovely town.
I mean, where am I going with that accent?
Well, mine's all over the place too. Just go for it, my friend.
We'll get back to the accent in a second. I was just going to ask, it was your brother that brought us here.
Well, brother, explain. Well, names first, then explain.
Nora's gonna start taking off her swords and, armor.
Heavily armored travelers. Yes, I still have heard no names.
Mary Lou, and I must say, you are a girl after my own heart, but also, and she'll point to the coffin, what's going on there?
I have a question. Is the sun figures, does it look anything like my emblem?
Go ahead and make a religion check.
Oh no. 6.
Ooh. Well, it looks similar in iconography,
Okay.
but it looks older in style.
The one that she has is older.
All of the ones that she have are done in a more old style.
Well, I have my emblem wrapped around my wrist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go ahead and shake her hand.
She is not extending her hand
Okay.
at all. She's got it on her blade hilt, or on the handle of her blade.
Well, then
But as she sees you extend your hand with the emblem there, she kind of gives you a warier glance, and sheathes her blade. And she doesn't offer her hand, but she says, "You? Who are you?"
You can call me Nora. I really like the decorations in your house.
And she kind of is weary and looks a little upset at what you're saying.
You don't like the decorations?
I wish I did not need to use them.
Oh.
We have been paid many a visit lately. And at this point, she kind of breaks off. I don't always remember what happens, but Father could not take all the stress and the strain, the attacks. His heart gave out. He didn't make it. He was supposed to make it. I don't know what we will do now. The village needs us. I cannot go, Ismark. The village needs us. Irina, please. These attacks are only getting worse. Our friends can help. They can help. They can help keep us all safe. We will all go together. If we can make it to Vallaki, it will be safer there. We will all be better off. And friends, this is my mission to you. Please help me convince my sister to leave. We must leave this area. The devil and his minions have attacked our house tirelessly these last several nights. After our father's death, and continually you saw the outside of the house. They wear away, they break us in, and already I fear they will... He cannot have her! He cannot have her! Please, help Irina. And she's kind of breaking up and not without burying Father first. You cannot just leave him to rot, leave him to become one of them.
Perhaps we could help?
See, Irina, and Ismark is already chiming in. They want to help. Let them speak and help us.
Who's the her you're referring to, Ismark?
Wait, can you clarify?
He said you cannot have her. Who's the her?
He cannot have her. And he was to my sister, to Irina.
Okay.
The devil cannot have her. He has paid a visit too often, and he is not welcome. He is never welcome.
Jennifer is like rubbing her temples. Can we sit down and like go back a little bit? Like let's all sit, relax, and talk about what the situation is and how we can help you.
Well, I'm not sure that we can relax, but we can talk.
Okay.
There is words to be exchanged. But please know that the longer we delay, the worse it will be. And Irina's still like stubbornly planting her feet and saying, I'm not going anywhere until we bury Father.
He's not going anywhere right now. Let's talk.
Claudia?
So Darian looks over...
She's clenching and unclenching her hands.
So Darian looks over at Irina, and you sort of hear him cock his head for a second, and like listen, and then he sort of steps forward and says, I think I can help. What are your plans for burying your father? I'm sorry that he's passed. How can we help?
Go ahead and make a persuasion check.
Lou's giving sort of a pointed look at
Can
Claudia.
can I come up beside Darian and be like, how let us talk to you. Can I kind of help him with his persuasion? Let's talk about options.
Okay, roll separately.
Okay.
Persuasion. Darian, how'd you do? 12. Okay. There is a cemetery, Donovich and the church. It is a less pleasant place than it once was, but at least we could lay him to rest. Father deserves at least that much. How'd you do?
19.
Yeah, she seems more open to it, but seems like still set in her ways about this needs to be done.
I'll look at Darian. But what are you thinking? Should we get some shovels? Like what?
Ismark at this point is saying, look, we can all help with the burial, and we should speak with Donovich first, and there is a matter there of concern as well. But first, let us all just sit. Irina, please, they are trying to help. Look at them.
So
They are worn too.
Looks at Irina intently, and he looks at Jennifer, and he goes, "It's okay. I've got this. I've got this. I can help her." And he turns back to her and he goes, "If you'd like, I can help you, even though I'm missing a foot at the moment. I think I can help you put your father to rest." And he turns and looks at Cladu and says, "Maybe with some help."
Explain.
So yeah, by the way, I'm the priest of Kellenvor, and interning the dead is my primary function. So if you want, we can do it in-house.
I do not know this Kelimvor, but here, my father, he belongs in the graveyard. There's a plot meant for him next to the plot of his father and the plot of his father before him.
So
We
why
will
not?
lay him to rest in the name of the Dawn Father,
So
the Morning Lord.
he's clearly been dead for a while now. Why haven't you just taken him over?
Well, and Ismark is kind of intervening at this point. Well, that is part of what I would hope to prevail upon you for, is protection. It is a risk even to take Irina outdoors at the moment. Wolves and unspeakable creatures of the night attack, and have been for many nights. But I agree, while I do not wish to disrespect this Kelenvor of yours, Father wanted to be laid to rest in the name of the Morning Lord. He belongs in the graveyard there. But I understand there is maybe a room for some changing circumstances, perhaps. You wanted some more information. I cannot claim to be an expert in what has happened, but I know this. The devil himself shows an unnatural interest and desire for my sister.
Ooh.
And he is a cursed one. I will not name him, but know this. He is sick, wrong, damned. That much is certain. But powerful, yes. He is a, we say a vampire. I do not know if you know this term, but
Do we know this term?
go ahead and everyone can go ahead and make a religion check, please. Claudio, I'll give you advantage because of your background.
Nat 20. First one.
Yeah, that's the first one.
Okay. Darian, how'd you do?
17.
Okay. Nora?
16.
Okay.
11.
Okay. Natural 20 for Jennifer for a total of?
24.
Okay. And
25.
25. Okay. Jennifer and Claudio, both of you have heard of a vampire. The rest of you have not.
Okay.
Not a common folklore tale from in Lumoria. And not common knowledge there.
But it's folklore. It's
Yeah. I mean, Claudio's knowledge would be a little bit different than yours. Your background would probably be in tales, maybe sung by a particularly suspicious-looking bard in the houses that you are familiar with. Maybe in ale houses or other moments like that. A rare book that you idly leafed through with curiosity and discovered something a little bit more. But more to that, you kind of just innately know.
okay.
And that's a little weird to you,
Okay.
even. Claudio, your experience is in religious teachings and books there, and as one of the most abhorrent undead creatures that stalk the land, the clergy of Kelenvor regard them as one of the utmost horrific creatures in all of existence.
And just a point of order, it was actually like a 22
That's fine.
that I rolled.
That's fine. Still,
A lot of sass in that look.
Kat gets to glare there, as she was the triumphant roller in that moment. But you see, he has shown an unnatural interest in my sister. Why, I cannot say, but he is insistent. He calls her something different, though. A different name, Tatiana.
Does that mean anything to you? And I'll look at Irina. Tatiana?
And she kind of massages her temples. I do not know how I know, but her name is familiar.
Well, I don't know much about vampires or really anything. do know a thing or two about controlling men, and I don't know about the rest of the party, but I will help protect you from him.
Jonafel will kind of like whisper to Mary Lou, be like, should we give him the letter?
I mean, might be a good idea.
What letter? Says Ismark. He will die on his perception check.
Okay. You see, we encountered an interesting house on our way to this lovely town. It's a very weird circumstance. That whole house was a strange scenario, but when we left the house, we were greeted by a package. And in this package, there were several potions, but also several letters. And one was addressed to you. We obviously have never met before, so it was strange, so we held on to it. We haven't read it, but maybe you should?
Go ahead and make a deception check, because technically you've read parts of it.
Yeah.
Using the
It's just
clever
that we
light
haven't
trick.
opened it.
I have pretty high this. That is a 21.
This is a most irregular and strangely fated occurrence, but
That seems to be the trend. You know?
I do not know what to say. May I see it, please?
Think, Nora?
I've got a potion.
I'll hand it to him. I'll assume that I had it.
Okay. And he looks it over, and immediately when he sees the seal, he kind of gives Irina a dead glare. And kind of breaks it open and unfurls it and reads it. And he kind of crumples it and throws it to the side. No! No, it is not over. And you all, please, you understand. Irina, please, look, we will bury Father first. If all of you can escort us to the church to convince Donovich to do a burial, that would be, and guard us during that moment, those moments, that would be most welcome. And I can reward you. We do not have much of our great wealth as before, but, and then, still a reward. And then, we can all carry on to the village of Vallaki, at a town greater than this, with protections. Things are not so bad as here. They're not so close to the Ravenloft Castle, where the devil himself dwells. On a clearer day, you can see it, even from here, the village. But, please, and Irina already doesn't think much of this idea, you can tell, and she is stubbornly standing against him and saying, no! We are not just the only ones so close. We are not just the only ones who suffer at his hands. All of the people in this village deserve a chance, and we cannot all escort them to Vallaki. And Ismark is sort of like, no, we can't, but we can get you out of here. You're the one being attacked. And sort of Irina says, it does not matter. One of us must stay. We are the son and daughter of the burgomaster. And you can clearly tell, like, this is an old rehearsed argument. They've had this a couple times, maybe in the last few nights. In any case, perhaps it is best that we do not act until morning, when it is a little bit brighter. And she kind of gestures, and through the cracks of some of the boards and stuff, you can see night has grown closer. It's not quite dusk yet, but it's late afternoon. We can at least accommodate you here, and pardon the smell. I'm sorry, I've done my best to prepare the body and the coffin. I did it myself to help, but please, stay with us, and we can at least lay Father to rest and decide what to do after that. Decide how we are going to stay, of course.
So, in the interim, I can help you prepare his body, at least.
How so? I do not know of your Kelemvor. How might you help?
This would just be fairly typical corpse preparation, so maybe it doesn't smell so much.
You can tell she doesn't like the word corpse being applied to her father, but she clearly is sort of like frowning a little bit, and Ismark puts a hand on her shoulder He says, "Oh," and she kind of immediately jerks away, like it was painful. And she, "Sorry, I forgot. Please, we would be honored. At least a more respectful moment for him, yes? Rather than rotting here in our house, in his house. Aye. Please." And he kind of gestures to the coffin.
Okay. I'll go about trying my best to prepare him a little better, presumably.
Okay, are you going to use any magic to do so? Or are you going to just try and do the best with your own skills?
So the question would be, since we just hit level 3, were the spells we picked up there, are they available for us to use?
I'll allow it in this particular case.
Okay, because I did take Gentle Repose.
Yeah, I'll definitely allow it for that.
Okay.
For this.
And
So you're casting Gentle Repose?
Yeah.
Okay. So immediately, you can kind of see, looking closer at the corpse, I mean, they did their best, but boy, a few days old, maybe even less than that, but enough to start swelling. The buttons on his vest that he's been buried in are kind of straining like they might not have normally. The fingers are enlarged and gray, and you're seeing some definitely signs of rot of the body. But as you say the prayers and let your magic soothe into him, you kind of notice that you feel like it's quieted, and almost feels like the corpse is more at rest because of what you've done. You swear you see the cushion that he's resting in, that's in the coffin that he's resting on, almost depress a little bit, like he's relaxing into it, and some of the stink kind of clears away.
there we go. That should do it.
Thank you. And Irina even says, "Yes, thank you. Father deserves such a thing. I wish you had come earlier." Well, at least a few of us should keep a lookout, but a rest sounded like all of you could use.
Aye, we had a
Yeah,
literal
it's
house fall on us, yeah.
It's not much worse than the inn.
Frank, yeah. Yeah, I think a few of us maybe keep watch. Arena, you want to keep watch with me?
Ismark kind of lays his hand on her back this time, rather than on the shoulder, upper neck area, or lower neck area, and just says, "Irina, why don't you rest and spend a moment with Father? I will watch with you, Mary Lou, excuse me."
Albert's fine.
All right. Well, it sounds like we're going to be bedding down for a long rest. Is anyone who wants to do anything? There's certainly enough furnishings, and Irina and Ismark can kind of show you around the house enough to see that there's bedding, a little bit worn down and ragged, and some must furniture. I mean, frankly, you guys could roll out your bedrolls on couches and stuff, and it's better than what some of you have had before. So. You'd still be in a good shape. Definitely better than resting in the house that you have previously lived in. So it sounds like Mary Lou and Ismark will take the first first watch, excuse me. Is there anyone else who's going to be on? We do 3 watches per long rest usually, so any other takers for watch shifts?
I'll take a watch.
I can take one too.
I can too. Like, pair up with
You guys could pair up. Any thoughts of pairings?
Arian's not gonna take a watch. He's gonna sleep fully.
That's fair. I'll pair with you, Nora.
Okay.
Or Jennifer would suggest to pair with Nora.
That sounds great. No, I love it. First person in the character. It's great. And then Cledu, why don't you guys take second watch and Cledu take third? Does that sound good? Okay, anyone want to do anything else before we bed down for the night? Or
Yes.
the early evening, really.
I will do several castings of prestidigitation to clean myself and the little nook that I'm gonna sleep in, and then take out my disguise kit, print, and try, because underneath my mask was leaking black fluid when we were in the house, and I'm gonna kind of just lift it a little bit to see if there's any more of the fluid that's coming.
Okay. No more fluid.
Okay.
And no stain or mark on your face or anything from it.
Okay.
But You clear away the space and clear away the grime off of you, which is plentiful. You know, after the corpse's smell has been like taken away has been sort of cleansed. There's another smell coming from the party members, which is a little bit severe after their ordeal and experiences. But certainly you feel a little bit cleaner, a little bit fresher, even though a bath might not be remiss or at least just standing a little longer out in the rain might do for an improvement. But in any case, you feel confident that your space is a little cleaner, and so are you.
Cool.
So, Ismark.
Yes, Cledu of Dwarven kind.
Hi. So you said you're home, and looks like there's claw marks, maybe scorch marks.
Indeed.
You said there's attacks coming in the night?
Indeed, the last several.
So we should expect some tonight, then.
I agree with my sister's assessment that we should keep a vigil, as it were, as we stand here.
Is it just the vampire that comes, or are there other creatures, people, things?
Wolves.
Wolves.
Giant wolves, normal
Giant
wolves, other creatures of the night, horrors of different kinds here and there.
Have they been able to get inside the house, or...?
The devil himself has made it twice to my sister. He will not make it a third time.
Okay. Well,
go ahead.
Nothing more to really say. What's up?
So I was saying, as you were sort of talking with them, Darian was going to try and see if he could get the letter that was tossed to the side.
Smart.
Okay, go ahead and make a sleight of hand check.
Oh, well.
15?
15?
Yeah.
Ismark notices that you're doing that, and simply just shakes his head and looks away, but doesn't try to stop you. He looks more just like angry at the contents of the letter and the letter's presence rather than your behavior, although he doesn't love that either.
So Ismark.
What's the letter say?
Hang on, let Brandon go.
Forgive me for this is almost certainly going to be a tough subject, but
There are a few other kinds of subject here at the moment.
So it seems. So you said the devil made it to your sister twice. Is she all right? Typically, people do not live when a devil reaches them.
As I said, well, all right is a bit of a relative term, but she still yet breathes and maintains a will of her own. She is so strong. I do not know how she maintains such iron in her heart. But she is, as I said, the devil has shown much... He has shown much interest in her. I think he prefers her alive.
And so here's the last kind of awkward question. I'm relatively familiar with vampires. I noticed she was covering her neck there. And she didn't really respond well when you tapped her on the neck.
Yes, twice he is bitten.
Would I understand the implications of that? Are there implications?
Go ahead and make a, in your case, religion check.
Okay. Rolling well again. That's a 22.
Yeah, so you would know that vampires have a capacity to drain the life out of a victim that they have bitten, either one that is willing or being pinned or held. It is understood that this effect is draining and emboldening, draining to the victim and emboldening to the vampire, but that it is not...
I lost Michael.
It looks like he turned off his camera for a second.
Oh.
Michael, you still with us? Okay, I'll just finish this. We're just about to head to break for the rest anyway, so let me just finish answering. But the deal there is not so much an instant contagion upon the bite, but if a victim is killed by this draining effect, then there is a chance that they return as something other. It's not like you've perfectly understood that. You know the very basics of it, but you know that it's not just like it is in some of our world's folklore about just like it's bitten and it's an instant turn kind of deal. It's more of like a continual effect, continual feeding leads to that. You wouldn't necessarily know what that entirely entails. But you know it's obviously worthy of note. But she also noticed that, she's clearly possessed of her free will. She's clearly possessed of, a strong will, as she's demonstrated. You still with us there, Michael?
Yeah, sorry, I just had to check on the dog.
Okay, no worries. We're just about to head to break here. If anyone else has anything else, I don't know if you heard what I was telling Cledu when relaying to his knowledge, but basically it's clear that a vampire bite is not an instant contagion so much as it is a draining effect that if it continues to be if she continues to be fed upon, something terrible might happen. But that's about the extent of your knowledge.
Okay, sounds good.
Further things might be required, but that's not... Turning someone into a vampire is not something that would be discussed. That's like
taboo,
top level blasphemy kind of deal to your deity. So as everyone is sort of Ismark is sort of saying, yes, she has been bitten twice and will not be a third time. That much I have trained to help prevent, but there is only so much I can do here. Our defenses, as you can tell, are limited and straining every night. But we will remain vigilant, and with your help, I think we stand a chance.
Well, will Darian be able to read the contents of the letter? After the break.
Yeah, we can go ahead and get to that really quickly, and then we'll go to break here. So, here we have the letter, which reads, Master Kolyanovich, I regret your loss, I truly do. But surely now you must see the futility of your efforts. I offer you a simple trade. Release Tatiana to me, and I will see that you are left in peace. Your dread lord and master, Strahd von Zarevich. And with that, and the ominous tidings that it brings and implies, we will be going to break. We'll be back in about 10 minutes or so.
I guess we're live.
Okay, yes, indeed, we are live. So, welcome, world. We're back, and I am just putting up all the little tools. And all right, with that, we return from break. When we left off, the party was, of course, resting. They had made their way to the village of Barovia after a brief stint in the inn. Were sort of friendly accosted by Ismark Kolyanovich, who approached them with a proposal, gave them a map of Barovia, and brought them to his manor. He introduced himself as the son of the late burgomaster, who was before him, having inherited the title himself. He, which is sort of a local terminology for sort of a mayor kind of character. He brought the team to his home, and he introduced them. I'm just getting the music back on. He introduced them to Irina, who apparently is his sister and had been victimized a couple times by what they're calling the devil, who appears to be, by the letter that was just written, that the party had delivered, perhaps this dread lord and master, Strahd von Zarevich. Not a hard leap there to make between the letter and Ismark's reactions. But, in any case, the team is about to bed down for a long rest and is expecting trouble here at the Burgomaster Mansion. As there's one second there, there have been many signs of trouble with signs of attack, and what Irina and Ismark have conveyed is that not only has the devil been and affected Irina, but that he and his minions of the night have indeed attacked many times wolves and other creatures of the night, as Ismark put it. Now, Mary Lou Megan's character, and Ismark are going to be taking first watch with a couple watches thereafter. I believe we had Jennifer and Nora on second watch, and Cladu on third. Darian is sleeping things off as he is recovering from limb loss earlier in our sort of pre-campaign startup. I should clarify one more thing. The burgomaster, the late burgomaster, Kolyan Indirovich, he passed away last night.
Oh.
That was one clarifying point that I needed to mention. I kind of had given a couple varying answers, so just to clarify, he passed away last night. So, yes, Megan / Mary Lou.
/ Mary Lou. Would the time spent drinking and talking in the tavern, could we count that as a short rest?
I would say probably not. Short rest isn't so much in that kind of circumstance, especially if you're focusing on an interactive combat. You're making rolls about, wariness for other people. I don't know. I'm lukewarm on that one, but I think for now we'll say no and move on. But I could maybe make an argument if it was a more restful tavern environment, but at the moment probably not. So, with Jennifer cleaning her space and everyone else has made a bedding one way or another for preparing for the sleep, Ismark draws his blade and he has it at the ready in preparing for the watch. And he's standing sort of silent vigil, kind of classic knight's pose with the blade resting at the foot of his, blade resting point down, hands on the pommel. And he's standing right in front of the casket where his father is buried, or father is laid to rest, and who's looking much nicer in his death, courtesy of Cladu's gentle repose. He's facing stoically forward towards the door and is waiting, with the air of a man who is ready for trouble.
Okay.
Mary Lou will sort of see him grab her great axe and sort of stand next to him and do the same. And as the watch started, everyone else kind of...
Yeah.
Are we? Can we do something before we?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Was there anything else you wanted to do before?
Yeah. Ismark, can you tell me about your defenses that you've set up here?
We are mostly just trying to, since it is just Irina and I, we are mostly just trying to cover all of the potential entrances that have been broken down and broken into. This is hardly a impenetrable castle here in our home. Better places, better walls, and we would be better off, but I am doing the best that I can. At the moment, I just recommend that on your turn, you keep a close eye, ready at the floor, and any additional help to scout out potential entrances or different signs. A sharp ear and a sharp eye go a far way, and if we can alert all of us before our confrontation truly starts, we might actually be able to emerge much better off than before.
Okay. So maybe before we go to rest, maybe we can do a walk around the perimeter and check out and see what it looks like and what we can do to make our defenses better. Maybe even a half hour, we all just look around and see what, if we can repair some of these boards or...
Okay, yeah. Yes, that sounds good, although I doubt that there is much that we can do before that is significant, but perhaps we can patch up any major holes. Yeah, you take a little bit of time, and I mean, ideally, you're no defensive expert, but ideally, the circumstances would be very different. The gate would be higher and barred and more intact. The wall, everything could be better. So there's lots to improve, but things that you could do in a short period of time. It seems like they've got freshly boarded, up spaces. It seems like they're covering the bare minimum in the circumstances, but to prepare as would be relevant in a big way would be much more timely and costly than what you guys can afford at the moment. The only thing he suggests is perhaps we could barricade with some of the furniture if you are not using. I am loath to make waste of our family heirlooms in this space. We have lived here a long time, but my sister's well-being is more important than all of that. So come, and he kind of clears it. He's like, clears away all the stuff, the clutter and things on his the dining room table, and he kind of begins to upend it. And he looks strong. I mean, he looks like a muscled individual, and he moves well, like he's got some athleticism to him. He turns it over and begins, Mary Lou, come, lend your strong arm. And, together you guys lift the dining room table, basically, and put it up against the wall with the door entrance. And he's got all those, locks and stuff that they had on the panic lock and sort of a crossbar as well, metal crossbar that looks relatively new, if a bit dented. And he slides that in, thing always sticks, kind of going through the motions with that. And you get the sense that it's a little bit added with some extra furniture, boarding up different spaces, but he says we should not go too far if we have to make a desperate escape either. Always good to have one route that is not blocked. So this window here, and he kind of indicates one kind of perpendicular to the main doorway that you've just barricaded. This one here, if we need to, perhaps we could make use of your axe and make a quick improvised doorway if needed. But for now, I suggest all of you get some rest. You might need it, and take what you can get.
Is there any... what's the symbol? And I'll point to one of the holy symbols. Do I recognize it?
Make a religion check.
Okay. 10. Oh, yeah, 10.
Vaguely familiar, but kind of old seeming.
Okay.
The symbology is similar to what you might have seen in parts of where you're from.
Okay.
But this is the symbol of the Morning Lord.
Do you find that this helps with your defenses at all?
We always offer efforts to we always show our efforts towards what we can. Here, I realize the... there we go. That's probably what we're looking at here. That's what's happened. Okay. Are we getting... Okay, well, we'll just stick to this for now. We always try and pay our respects. I cannot say that the prayers have been answered very frequently, but supposedly the right kind of faith and the right kind of symbol can help protect against such forces as the devil.
Okay, can I take a little bit of time? I have a forgery kit that has some loose papers in it. Can I copy down the symbol just so I know what it looks like?
Yeah, go ahead and make a performance check.
Okay. Oh, it should be pretty high. Performance, that is 16. Yeah,
I mean, it's sort of a sort of stylized sun rising over a horizon.
Okay.
It's sort of done in a sort of circle and a bunch of triangles kind of way, with streaming little lines, sort of depicting a more radiant light.
Okay.
And Nora's symbol that she presented, that is on her, that is tied around, is somewhat similar. Hers is a little bit more ornate and kind of more. It looks a little less archaic and vague.
Mm-hmm.
Hers is got a sort of more radial dial of like complexity to it.
Okay.
Maybe so, but you can notice there's a similarity between the two.
Okay.
So yeah, I got you guys on this. I don't know why. Yeah, go ahead.
Can Nora go ahead and cast Divine Sense? Does she just, if there's anything somewhat close to us?
Okay, and what does Divine Sense cover?
It covers any celestial fiends undead within 60 feet that's not behind total cover.
Okay.
And it also detects the presence of any place or object that's consecrated or desecrated.
Okay. You raise this sense. Your eyes gleam a little silvery more. I believe I mentioned to you before something that would register on this.
Yeah.
That still registers,
Okay.
but no additional information.
Okay.
Alrighty. And with that, team begins a long rest. Go ahead and make a perception check for part of your watch there, Mary Lou. Ismark will do the same.
That is a 15 for perception.
Okay, 15. The tension is thick in the area, and you guys are ready, clearly, as the rest of you have bedded down as best you can and are waiting for trouble, waiting for the call that might wake you up in the middle of your sleep. And Ismark says, it's too quiet. Stay vigilant. But you guys, the only thing you hear is, you might hear, far off, you hear a sort of someone knocking. Maybe that person with the cart on a house not too far down. But not on the door to your house, to the house here.
Okay.
Otherwise, no particular threats or worries in your section of watch.
Okay. And Mary Lou, still like looking at the door, not necessarily at him, will say, I don't know the stuff your sister has been through with this devil, but I've dealt with the devil of my own, and I am going to give you my word that should this man, devil, whatever he is, try to hurt her, he is going to get a hatchet to the face.
Well, I look forward to seeing that, and I am sorry for your own personal troubles. He is, I have trained in arms all of my life, and he is something else to face. However, it is warming to know that a lady with clearly demonstrated strength, lifting your friend back there, is worthy of, is a worthy note, and I appreciate your guidance. I hope that we can bring her to safety. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell he genuinely appreciates. He really feels like that's something, he really can appreciate in a deeper context. But in any case, the section of watch passes, and quietly he pads over to Nora and says, awake, lady, I believe it is your turn. So far it is all quiet. Too quiet. And then he goes and finds Jennifer and does the same.
All right. Shall we?
We shall.
All right, go ahead and each roll a perception check, please.
Sure. That good?
I was very distracted.
Oh,
How'd you do?
That one.
Natural one.
Weavey! I got 14.
Okay, Nora, you're kind of fascinated by all of these symbols around. They obviously speak to you in the meaning that you share with it, and the similarity to your own that you wear. And you're kind of trying to unravel the whole deal, why there's a difference in style. It seems more of a temporal difference rather than a stylistic or cultural difference. But otherwise, you are focused on that. There's not a. You got your sword, your hand on your sword, but otherwise, that's about your extent of watching deals. Jennifer, you're a little bit more focused at the task at hand, and still you sort of are waiting for something, and waiting for something, and your attention drifts for a moment, and then you're waiting for something, and it passes without event. There's no particular sounds, nothing, no growls or creaks or cries. You do hear kind of from where Irina is, she gave sort of she, before going and turning in herself or attempting to, she, wept over her father's remains and said a few quiet words that were too quiet for you to hear. But you can kind of hear her kind of murmur in her sleep discontentedly. And you know what it's like to have bad dreams, but this seems a little bit more thorough.
Okay. So Jennifer will walk towards the coffin. It's an open coffin, right?
It is, yes.
Okay, walk towards the coffin, and she'll look as if she's kind of like paying respects.
Mm-hmm.
But really, what she's doing is examining the body.
Okay.
I want to see if there's any like injuries, obvious injuries to him, if it like aligns with their story that he died of a heart attack.
Okay. Go ahead and make a medicine check.
Well, 5.
You're not an expert, but you don't see any immediate visible damage.
Okay. And
Alrighty.
how is he? Is he like? I guess he would be dressed really nicely.
Yes,
Okay.
he's finely dressed in sort of a waistcoat with gold buttons, kind of nice-looking overall cloth, and even down to his shoes, dressed smartly.
Okay.
Not ostentatiously or frivolously, but a man of station.
Okay.
Otherwise, though, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, otherwise the watch passes without event, unless you have anything else you'd like to share with your companion.
So, Nora, do you want to maybe take a look out the windows? There's little cracks in the wood panes, right?
I'm sorry?
There's little cracks in the wood panes, like the boards?
I mean, it's not perfectly aligned. You can tell that the boards were hastily erected on the windows, so it's not like it was deliberate or that they were necessarily chipped open. They look newly put on, although there are signs of them being torn off before. So it looks like it's maybe like torn off and then replaced and then torn off and replaced kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And indeed, you've seen some discarded wood around the house in pieces. And maybe some hodgepodge that's reformed over the spaces. But that's about what you've got. You're not seeing any kind of... The cracks are mostly from misalignment, not perfect.
I'm gonna... I feel like it's very fishy that it's so quiet. I'm gonna take a moment and I'll close my eyes and try to focus really hard and cast Detect Magic.
Okay. You spend a little time raising your senses and detect magic. Many things register as magic among your friend's equipment, including Cladu's scythe, Mary Lou's hatchet, Nora's small side knife that she wears, and Darian's ring. The cloak that you picked up in the house also registers as magical, as do all the potions.
Okay.
But otherwise, no additional magic aside from the remnants of what Cladu did to lay the Burgomaster to rest.
What about the sacrificial dagger?
Not
Is
magical.
that registered? Not magical? Okay.
Yep. Yep, that's how it passes.
Okay. Well, seems quiet.
Yeah. I could sleep.
Good. I'll go and wake up Cladu.
Okay. All right, Cladu, you're on your own there. Scythe at the ready, probably. Go ahead and make a perception check.
That will be an 18.
Okay. First hour into your watch, you hear at the door. Hello?
And what time of the night is it about this point? Like 3 or something?
It's it's probably about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Hearing. Hello.
Does that mean anything to you? Do you know what 3 o'clock in the morning means? Or
Would you like? I have pastries to sell. Good things. I know it's been a hard time. Good things to sell. Tasty, tasty pastry.
Is Mark around?
He's gone to sleep. He's trying to rest now because
I'm going to wake him up and ask him. So there's this lady trying to sell us pastries at like 2 or 3, 4 in the morning?
I do not know this lady. Has she identified herself?
No, she hasn't. And if you don't know her and you're the Burgermeister or whatever it was, that's isn't this kind of bad?
Well, I imagine that many folk are trying to earn a few extra coins these days. But is she still here? And he kind of waits for a moment, and you hear like a and kind of like the cart's being shuffled off.
I mean, breakfast sounds great, but that's freaking weird.
Well, I don't know what else to say. Thank you for waking me. But I'm going to catch the last
Oh, yeah, sure.
few hours of my rest. If you are able to keep vigil, that would be
I should be fine.
remaining. Excellent.
Sleep
Thank you.
well. Sleep well.
Thank you, Dwarven man. And he goes back to sleep. And the rest of your watch passes without event. So long rest benefits for everybody, full health, full spell slots, all that stuff. Those of you who have to pick your spells, please do so. And we will carry on. I don't know why my normal overlay seems to be letting me down a little bit, but we'll carry on. This seems to be setting to table cam, rather capturing.
The split one works pretty well though.
Yeah, it just includes an unnecessary combat cam, but so it goes.
I reset mine.
Yeah, I think it Zoom maybe got mixed around which window was where, so I don't know if I can affect that, but maybe I can, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to futz with it too much. Okay, so long rest, morning comes, it's early morning, remember you guys went to bed quite early, but Irina kind of wakes, and as does Ismark, and the two of them kind of look at each other, and they say, "No attack. It is the first night in a few. There has not been any attack. Perhaps your presence is good luck as it is. Perhaps we should get going as soon as possible while there is morning light." And while you notice that there is morning light, it is not the cheery sunshine that you guys are used to. It's streaming through the boarded cracks and curtains drawn, but no particular warmth to the light. Not golden morning sunshine, but kind of a grayish, dingy start to the day.
Darian asks, how far is it to the cemetery?
Not far, just the other side of town. We should be able to make it just fine, all of us together. But we can certainly find company and strength in numbers. All the same. Take no chances, I say.
Hey, Ismark, you
Yes.
said that you might need help persuading the priest to bury your father. That seems strange. Why would you need to persuade a priest to do his job?
He does a good job, Donovich. He's a good man, or was a good man. But after what has happened to his poor son, well, maybe you'll see. But he's not up to much more other than praying for a miracle at the moment. And if we can have him spare a few moments, then perhaps that'll go well.
Okay,
Arena, do you have any
Yes.
cloaks or any way you could maybe disguise yourself? I mean, it probably wouldn't help, but if we go around town and people can be like, "Oh yeah, there was Arena, the one you were looking for."
Ismark says, "This is a good idea. You can never trust travelers on the road, present company excluded. But a good thought all the same. And at least take your traveling cloak." And Irina pulls up her hood on a traveling cloak and is kind of ready for the rain, which it seems like it's already raining again. But I am no expert in disguises. But how do I look? She puts her hood forward.
So, I think that we can do better than that. And I'll take out my disguise kit. I think it should have wigs, it has makeup, it has some small costume pieces. So
Yeah.
I'll spend some time making her look like...
Go ahead and make a performance check for me.
Sure.
How do you want her to look, though? What you thought?
Maybe look like a peddler, like someone who's going through selling wares, like the lady who was pushing the cart.
Okay. Yeah.
Just
what was
very
your result?
plain. 15.
15. Okay. You're able to do an okay job. It's not your best work, but, you didn't have exactly the best time, and, most compliant subject. She's like, "Oh, I am not taking off my armor."
It's
so
necessary.
It's a little bulky and stuff. She's still getting her armor and her sword, so it's a little bit but it's, to a passing outline, it's, fine, but otherwise
Okay.
a little so-so. It wouldn't wear up to scrutiny
Sure.
in a close, 6-foot distance. Would not maintain, unfortunately. So, but something is better than nothing. Yes. Well, let us go. Please, help. We need, as you say, pallbearers. Carry, Father. She seems driven and energized, although not chipper, to get this going.
I forgot that we're carrying a coffin. Maybe I should have made her look like a priest or something.
She's a peddler, just a peddler of death.
A peddler? Wow,
She's
that's so
selling
metal.
coffins.
That's such
Yeah.
a great band name. I'm sorry to distract.
Peddlers of Death. It's the band name. Maybe that's the group name. Still need a group name. So maybe that's the first one there. We'll have to take a vote later. But Mary Lou, obviously, it sounds like you're volunteering to help. Anyone else? Any takers? Ismark says, "I will, of course, bear this burden."
Claudio will do it as well.
All right. So between the three of you, I think you're able to do it just fine. I'm not going to have you guys roll. And Irina, as you guys pass, you guys move aside the chair, furniture, and undo all the panic room stuff, and open the door. Again, like I said, sort of that morning light, but not bright morning early sunshine of pleasantness. And you guys are moving out into the open space, and Irina kind of glances at Bildrath's Mercantile, which was across the street from their place. Sort of in the opposite direction of where you guys will be going, and where Ismark is clearly like pointing. But Irina kind of leans over to Nora, whomever else isn't carrying the casket, and says, "Ask if you need some assistance. Ask for Periwinkle. He has been helping me. We have been. He is not as vicious as his uncle, and the prices maybe you can get are fairer. We have been trying to get some supplies to the villagers. They all are in need of help, but they are good people. I cannot leave them. I cannot leave them. They need some help. Perhaps you can help me help them when we are finished here. Ismark is not the only one who can be grateful." You guys have your procession again, going down the street, kind of turning. So you guys were heading back down to that four-way intersection where Bildrath's Mercantile was on the immediate right, and then across the street, still on the right, was the Blood on the Vine Tavern, or is the Blood on the Vine Tavern, or Blood on the Vife Tavern. Still no major individuals moving around here that you're seeing. Even in the start of the day where you would expect some to be. It's a little early, and it's very misty and foggy, but otherwise, a ghost town.
When I look at Irina's eyes, do they resemble anything like mine?
They do not. They are green, but natural green, kind of
Okay.
pretty. They're very pretty. I guess they resemble that, but otherwise not too much elsewise. So you guys are able to carry the casket over yonder to the farther spaces of the other side of the village, and you're passing houses. A couple you hear some sort of muffled voices behind, a few doors, and things like that, but nothing particularly. Again, you hear crying, and crying that seems to be, a persistent relative feature of the village at the moment, perhaps compiling and compounding some of the misery. It was just before the Bildrath's Mercantile where it seems like it was most loud, the house there. And Ismark kind of glances sideways, and Irina says, "Poor Mad Mary, her daughter went missing. Another who needs help. I've been trying to get supplies more to her, but she will not take anything now."
Who's Mad Mary's daughter?
Gertruda. She went missing a week ago. She kept her close, not able to leave the house like me. I don't know what happened to her. None of us do. But perhaps we can arrange a visit, or begin to help her, or start looking. Things have been so hard on everyone. It takes its toll in different ways. In any case, you guys continue farther, and Ismark says, "Truly, thank you. I know we are only just beginning to ask and prevail upon you, but already you are always welcome at our table and at our home. At the moment I am carrying a bit of a burden, but I have a key for you when you are ready to accept it when we are ready to give it too. In the meantime, you guys make your way to the other side of the town, across the way from basically following the path just opposite the mansion that you guys came from. A little detour. It's just actually down the way that the cart was first seen. And atop a slight rise against the roofs of pillar stone that supports what looks like supports the roots of the pillar stone that supports Castle Ravenloft. You're actually seeing the castle, kind of in the distance, but you see the mountainside kind of trickle down from there. And so the castle is set on the mountain in the distance, and you can see it. It's a grand and austere kind of Gothic-style castle, and shrouded in more mist than it has any reason to be. Even in the morning light, it casts a deep, dark shadow. And as you're moving, and perhaps it's just what you've heard of it, but as you're moving towards it, at the roots and base of this, sort of the rise here, is where this church is set, a grey, sort of sagging edifice of stone and wood. And it's obviously seen some assaults of evil for a very long time, and is worn and weary. Everything here seems worn and weary. A bell tower is risen towards the back, and flickering light shines through the holes in the shingled roof, and the rafters sort of strain rather sadly against their load. You guys are approaching, and you see similar marks as what you saw on the village. On the Burgomaster house. You see in front of you on the entrance here, claw marks, scorch marks, scars of invasion, attack, damage, all the way around. As you guys sort of step right to the threshold space, Ismark calls as loudly as he dares, which isn't super loud, but enough to be of stretching voice, Donovich, we are here. It is time. No response comes. Nora or Jennifer, perhaps you could knock for us. There aren't any knockers or anything, but you could at least rap at the door. Please.
Of course. Yeah. And Jennifer will go
You
up
might not be hearing us.
and 2 quick knocks.
Okay, so kind of opens the door already.
Oh.
And you push open the space a little bit more, and it looks like it's a 10-foot wide, sort of 20-foot long hall, leading to a brightly lit chapel, mostly brightly lit by all of the holes in the ceiling and walls. Otherwise, the hall is unlit, and it reeks of the hall leading to it is sort of unlit and dark, damp, sort of reeks of mildew. There's 4 doors, 2 on each side of the hall, that lead to possible adjacent chambers, sort of immediately in your space. So narrow hall and 2 doors on either side, and then broadens into that more brightly lit space. Already you can see that the chapel ahead is strewn with debris. You can hear a soft voice from within, and it's a sort of repetition, ceremonial prayer. And suddenly, you're sort of hearing this. It's kind of very faint. You can't quite make out the words, but suddenly you hear "Ah!" from underneath in the floor.
What was that?
Nora's gonna look down and see if she can see anything between the floorboards.
Did I step on something?
You do not see anything beneath your feet, and the praying redoubles, and the sort of continued space is even more. It's even more desperate. The tone of the thing, and as you're approaching, you just hear, please, just repeated over and over. It's almost just like a pleading repetition now instead of a sort of coherent prayer.
Hello? Hello? The
So-
door's open.
Yeah, you see each of the spaces nearby, kind of leaning a little open. Each of the doors leaning open a little bit, and debris and stuff in the varying neighboring rooms. But the man stands. He was kneeling before, and he turns around, and you see a sort of maybe a little more portly man who's lost a lot of weight in a short amount of time. Looks sort of like saggy and sunken. Very tired looking, although you wouldn't put him past his, much past his like early 40s. Gray hair, thinning, almost bald. And he says, "Hello. Forgive my voice. I have been using it a lot lately." And he says, and he kind of looks past you. "Ah, yes." And below you hear, "Father, please!"
Are we interrupting?
No, it's just. Well, he's troubled. I have prayed so hard and want for a better life for him. He is not well, not safe. I cannot let him go. But it seems that there is work to be done. Perhaps distraction will clear my mind. And Ismark is presenting still presenting the burden that the three of you are sharing. I do, it's a little bit above your head. But you're still managing just fine. Ismark says, "Donovich, I am sorry to prevail upon you. I know how hard things are for you. But please, Father needs to be laid to rest." He kind of looks and smiles, and tears are streaming down his face. "You are a good son. Perhaps just give me a few moments to collect myself. I will begin preparing the plot. Please, this way, with the late burgomaster." And his voice is just like hoarse and broken. "If you do not wish to see something troubling, please stay here or outside. I would not want to sour your day with my troubles." He seems a little off, this guy. Like he's not quite tuning in to the rest of things around him. He seems to just kind of be speaking to the open air a little bit. He recognizes Ismark, but there's no hint of interest in finding out more of who you guys are. There's no questioning looks. In fact, he's not even looking at you. He's kind of looking at Ismark and looking up ahead and kind of up and to the side.
Okay.
So,
Do we see anything up there? Where he's looking?
make a perception check.
There's like a raven up there or something.
So I'm just gonna raise eyebrows at Nora and like look down to where we heard the noise.
I'm just gonna shrug and be like,
I'll shrug in return.
slightly
11.
sketched out, but like it's not the first time.
Looks like he's looking at nothing. But together you guys carry out the plot to, you're carrying the casket too, so that doesn't help. But you guys carry out the plot to the graveyard space. And again, it's a fenced-in graveyard. It seems intact, and many graves here. I don't know if you would know what the difference would be. Cledu, you've been in graveyards before as part of your clergy training, this looks like a well-kept one, and there are indeed several plots. Some of them look a little more disturbed, a couple headstones cracked, which troubles you, but there is indeed a open plot for what looks like Kolyon Indirovich, burgomaster, and lists a timeline for him. Strangely, you don't recognize the date calendar methodology or the timeline at all. So that's a little unusual to you. But in any case, together you guys lay the makeshift casket beside the plot. And there's a leaning in of Ismark and Irina, although Ismark says, "I know it's morning, but keep an eye out. You never know." And Irina there's a long pause. Donovich is standing there in front of the body. And Irina says, "Yes, Father?" I can't. My boy. And Irina puts a hand on his shoulder and says, "We will find a solution. We will find a cure. There must be one. We will be sure to find one. Perhaps action coupled with your good prayer." And you get the sense already she knows how to approach him in his broken state. And it kind of gives you a new insight into her a little bit. Her compassion is there. Look, we have these new out-of-town folk, and they can maybe help too. There must be a solution. They must know things.
And so while Irina is putting her hand on the father on the priest's shoulder, Darian's gonna step up beside him and put his hand on the other shoulder, and he sort of just like puts his hand there, and then he takes another step forward to stand in front of the casket, and you see him stare off to the side for a moment again, and he sort of beckons Cledu to come over.
Am I still carrying the casket, or?
No, you guys have set it down beside the grave.
Okay. Yeah, I'll come over.
So he sort of is whispering to Cledu or sharing to Cledu, and he says, "Can I hold you for a moment?"
Claudia will give you the stinkiest side eye you've seen so far from him. What?
He says, "That'll do, no, that'll do." And he puts his hand on your shoulder, and he looks up to the side, and he casts mold earth, and suddenly the casket, he's going to move 5 feet of earth, 5 feet cubic earth, and he's going to move the casket into the earth and cover the casket.
Okay.
Here.
Well,
As he's
hang on. So as you're doing this, first of all, 5 feet of cubic earth is not enough to move under the whole casket. But as you begin to shift it a little bit, Irina says, "Wait! He has not said the prayers. We cannot bury him until he has given proper deliverance."
So Darian's not really hearing at this point.
So you're just carrying forward anyway?
Cledu, do you want to stop me?
Nora's gonna start walking forward,
It's
like
like,
with
wait.
quite the glare in your eye.
They have things they gotta do. Give him just a minute.
Okay, so Darian will stop.
Okay. It's a tense moment, as Irina sort of hisses at you, like, "Stop! Let it happen. Let things go this way. You are not used to our customs, perhaps, but it must go a certain way."
Does the priest seem to be cognizant or like able to be there?
He's not even recognizing that you're touching him. Also, I should point out, you might want to consider something for Darian, to help him move more ably, because right now I'd say he's probably not able to be very mobile
Like
without
hobbling
assistance.
down.
Yeah, he's got a hobble on someone's shoulder for right now. So just a reminder there. But they all are a little wary. And Donovich looks at the earth that had shifted a little bit that you did, and he said, for the first time, he says something that makes it realize he has recognized, or at least taken in your guys' presence. Just like that man mage. You shouldn't have followed him. I know. There is many past wrongs that must be undone, but this is the start. Please. Help our father, and we will see to your son. We can at least visit him and lend what aid we have. This one knows something of giving rights as well, and he kind of she gestures to Cledu. We must all play to our strengths, and in this moment, you are the one who may do what is right, what is needed in this moment for my father. You can be a father to him as he seeks deliverance. And he really drinks in those words, and it seems like she's approached him in the right way, because he rises a little bit and says in his sort of hoarse voice, he says, "Don, Father, please. I know that our people have wronged, and that we must suffer our own curses and punishments. But this was a good man. He tried to protect. It is not his fault that the monster's king knocking at his door. Send him to your light-filled halls and fields. So everyone go ahead and make a perception check, please.
That's pretty good. Let's see if I can beat it.
Let's see. You be like that?
It's gonna be sub 10. It is sub 10.
Alrighty. Darian.
21.
Okay. Nora.
Nat 20.
Okay. For a total of?
21.
Nice.
0.
Okay. You're quite taken with some of the things around, but not really taking in anything else. The fog is rolling in, and you're just kind of like, whatever. Funeral's not really your thing.
20 total.
20 total?
15.
15. Okay. So everyone but Mary Lou. Whoa. Throw in my pencil. Everyone but Mary Lou. In the mist up ahead, as the mist rolls in, sees a dark cloaked figure some distance ahead. No one else seems to have clocked his presence, and his head seems slightly bowed, respectfully, and he seems to be standing and observing the procession. And with this, Donovich, his prayer complete, nods his head and gestures to Darian, and kind of gestures forward like this, and Ismark nods to you, Darian, and says, now with the dirt, if you wish.
So Darian, he closes his eyes again, so looks up to the side, and then he starts moving the earth. It might take him a minute or more than one cast, but he can move. He casts mold earth, and he removes and excavates and shifts the coffin into the earth, and then covers it.
Yeah, it's a more gentle and maybe cleaner way to do it, and you've certainly created a nice smooth pass and top of the plot.
And then on the top, as he's molding it, he creates a symbol, which is the symbol that he saw of the house, or in the house of the sun god. And around it, it's slightly modified, which is you see sort of a dragon's tail around the outside of it as well, and it sort of sits in the middle there.
Nice, that's cool.
Go.
Says Jennifer.
Good.
So as this is complete, Ismark says, "A nice touch," and he sounds older. And at this point, Irina just breaks down and on her knees, sobbing. Donovich says, "May you find rest," and he kind of turns back and heads back into the chapel area. And all of you kind of take in the moment. It's a somber moment, and Ismark is kind of just staring off into nowhere, looking at the grave and his sister crying. And the fog seems to be rolling in. Somewhere off in the distance, you hear a wolf howl. And the forests around the outer spaces near this mountain base feel thicker and closer than they felt before. The other two are distracted. Mary Lou is distracted. But you see shapes moving in the mist. At the very edges of the graveyard outside the fence, 3 shapes on one side, 3 shapes on another, and a massive 7th shape straight ahead. The fog clears for a moment, and you see wolves closing in on both sides, and a massive, huge, horse-sized black wolf straight ahead, sitting on its haunches, waiting. It lifts its head and howls, and the wolves creep in, jumping over the edges of the fence with ease, and immediately begin to flank you and to attack.
Oh God!
The others, Ismark quickly draws his blade, coming out of his reverie, and kind of stands almost over Irina and says, "Everyone, alert! Attack! They're attacking! Keep Irina safe! Don't let him have her!" And that is where we'll pick up next time, because it is 9 o'clock. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for those of you who tuned in. And hopefully it'll be a little bit of a cleaner, smoother experience, but this is a growing thing. And yeah, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and call that a done deal. So we're going to go